Show, Bam, show.
Show Bam Show.
Show, Bam, show.
Show Bam Show.
Expanding our community.
Hey, welcome to the Show Bam Show. I'm here with Kristy Wolf. Is that how I pronounce your name?
Yeah, it is.
Fantastic. And here on the Show Bam Show, we celebrate startup culture, what people are up to, and mental health. So, Kristy, tell us what got you into photography.
It's a long story, but originally I have two kids, and my older son was born early, so he was in the NICU. And just before we had him and gone into the NICU, I'd taken a couple photography classes, and it was just honestly my way to capture what was happening, but also to have a creative outlet for all the chaos that was going on around us. There wasn't a lot of control when you're in the neonatal intensive care unit, and so being able to take photos and have something to focus on was really how I started. I then started taking photos for other families that were staying at Ronald McDonald House. And so over 6 years, I photographed a family a month kind of thing, either in hospital or if they were staying at Ronald McDonald House. And it just built my confidence in doing it. And that was all volunteer, like starting out and just jumping in and trying something new is how photography started for me.
Wow, that's incredible. And the people you must have met too, like you must have a lot of stories.
So many stories. And I think that something that I found really important as a medical mom is finding other people who don't necessarily have the same story as us, but that there's common threads. So maybe it's a heart family, or maybe they've been in the NICU, or there's just so many different things. And when you have a baby that doesn't just get to go home like the average family, you have to learn a totally different way of handling things. And so having people that have also had that experience is pretty powerful. So being able to talk about those stories and then photograph that for people and show them what it looks like, what their story looks like from an outsider's point of view I loved it.
That is really, really cool. And did one of your kids get sick or did that inspire you to get into the hospitals and
yeah,
you
so
worked there, you said.
My son Kane was born 8 weeks early, so 2 months early. So we were in the hospital for 2 months with him right when he was born. At the age of 1, he had a heart surgery. And then just after we moved to Canmore in September of 2019, he had another heart surgery that required them to go back in and put in a pacemaker. So a lot of our story, a lot of how I process all the things that have happened is by taking photos and sharing our story and talking about it, because I think I don't know. It is really the way that I take care of my mental health.
That is fantastic. And I love how you're doing that and people don't feel alone. And days when it's been rough, how do you take care of your mental health and keep yourself positive?
I think that one of the things is connecting with the people that I have relationships with. So taking some time to call someone or go for a walk. At this stage of the game, a Zoom call might be the best option I have, but I think that's a big part of it. And then for me as well, it's talking about not just our story, but talking about how other people can tell their stories. So as COVID has come down the pipe, I haven't been able to photograph the families I normally would. So I consider myself a storytelling photographer that works with medical, special needs, and palliative families. Those are families that cannot have another person near them right now. And so that kind of all got put on hold. So it was a bit of a switch to, okay, how can I get those families to tell their own stories so that they maybe are learning a bit more about photography, maybe thinking a bit more about digital storytelling and how they can share a story for education purposes or advocacy. So yeah, totally a new way of handling things right now.
That is really, really cool. And that shift, has there been things you've been able to do to help connect with people ever since COVID hit, or has it been a struggle? Because you said you're home with your kids right now, and
usually they're at school. It's just this little 2-week, 1 month period for us. But I think when COVID first hit, and we were still new to the Bow Valley at that point. We'd only been here for about 5 months and are getting our footing and just starting to meet people. So COVID hits, and my background is as doing voluntography is what I know it as, volunteer photography. Someone sent me the Front Steps Project and said, I think you would love this. The idea of the Front Steps Project was just that you would go meet a family or just individuals that were outside of their house. They'd be on their front steps kind of idea, and you would be back at the sidewalk, take a couple pictures. They have something to look forward to. They have some photos of their family in a crazy, weird time. And then for me, it was just a chance to meet some new people. So over the course of, I think it was March through May of last year, I ended up photographing 100 people in the Bow Valley and just like, here, take this. We'll set up a session and then you pay it forward somehow, either donating to a local charity or doing a random act of kindness for somebody else. That was a really important part. So honestly, that's how I made it through the spring when we were full out homeschooling and nobody really knew what was going to be happening next, was offering what I am good at, which is photography, to people and connecting that way.
That is amazing. And I love how you reached out to people, and people must just like love that and like passing the message on. Like, I love what you're doing. Like, that's so inspiring.
Thank you.
And you said you have like so much education. Like, for a while you were like teaching, you have like nurse and then photography. Like, you are just have so many skills. I'm so inspired by you.
I have to say I'm not a nurse. I've dealt with my own child's medical stuff, but I do not have any nursing background.
Sorry about that.
Okay. I don't want people to, oh man.
You probably learned so much through your experiences. And how do you connect with all these amazing people? Like, is it through Facebook or?
So honestly, moving to the Bow Valley was the first time that I moved to a new city when Facebook was a thing. Prior to that, it had always been like, you just move for your job or that kind of thing. So I was on Facebook at that point, and I actually connected in with some medical moms here in town through Facebook before I even showed up, just kind of asking some questions. And the Bow Valley community has been amazingly welcoming for finding my place here and just making connections. It's been awesome. So I would say honestly that social media, when we were first moving here, made actually a big difference for me. And then getting involved with Arts Place and the Banff Canmore Community Foundation, and just finding a couple organizations that that I believe in what they're doing, has connected me in different ways with some of the community members here.
That is incredible. And the people in the Bow Valley are so, so special. Like, I love them. And the fact that you have a story when you came here and like so welcoming, that just warms my heart right there. Like, it just shows through. And I love that.
So I was wondering, Sage, how you ended up doing this, but also how long you've been in the Bow Valley, because I bet you haven't talked about yourself at all on this.
Oh my gosh. I've been here for ever since I was born and raised here, off and on school, and it's been great. And I just love it and thought this would be a great way to talk to people, get out there and learn about careers and kind of what everyone's up to. And it's been so inspiring. And you were telling me offline that you were doing something similar. So I would love to hear about that too. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to talk. Yeah.
Some like, people end up asking all the questions and nobody ever asks you questions. I totally get that. It was funny, actually, Sage, because just prior to like the pandemic hitting, my husband was saying like, you know, you really need to do some video. I was so not into video, and I didn't want to be on YouTube. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I felt like I felt like I didn't need something else to learn. And so once COVID hit and we were kind of in our houses and with the kids, I just started doing a couple different things, like a read aloud for children's books with the kids and just trying out some Facebook Live stuff. But I started a series called I Was There Too. And I've done 10 of the episodes, and I think it's at its end. I think the 10 is where I'm sticking with it. But it interviewed, and like same kind of idea, just a conversation with people. Sometimes it was people in the Bow Valley, sometimes it was other photographers, sometimes it was families with medical complexities, sometimes it was medical staff, just talking about like how photography has impacted them, or where, like sometimes with photographers, like how they are using photography to tell stories. So it was just like, it was kind of anything goes, similar to this, in that you just kind of see what happens. And it was a really good experience. I learned a lot from it, but yeah, I'm moving on to some new things now.
That's exciting. May I ask what those new things are, or what do you envision those new things being?
So it actually, a lot of it came from the Front Steps Project. Arts Place and the Canmore Museum and the Bow Valley Immigration Partnership, we all kind of partnered on this idea of talking about the stories that are happening right now in COVID and capturing what it looks like to be in the Bow Valley at this stage of history. But as I thought more about that, there's a guy in Calgary named Mike Lang who does digital storytelling. He's working on his PhD in digital storytelling. So I just did his training so that I can work with other people to tell digital stories. Digital story is a 3 to 5 minute movie. The idea being that you find the story you want to tell. It doesn't have to be in healthcare. And we come up with a story, we end up writing about 300 to 500 words and voicing that story, and then adding visuals and video clips into it to create this final movie. So that is something that I've just been starting to do in the last month. And I love it. I'm doing an info session tonight. I've got a bunch of other ones. I can give you the link so you can share that. But those info sessions are free and just give people a chance to see if this is something that they would want to do personally, or if it makes sense from a nonprofit standpoint to tell the stories of what their organization is doing. So there's a couple stories out there already. I have one, my own personal experience, a woman in Canmore that I've done a lot of photographs of, her and her daughter, told a story, and she talks a lot about Rocky Mountain Adaptive, which is a nonprofit here in the Bow Valley. And then my mom actually did a story as well, talking about mental health in the healthcare system, as well as that kind of like that feeling of being a grandparent of a medical kid and what's that like, because it's a totally different perspective than mine that I usually take with storytelling of being the mom of a medical kid. So yeah, that's just the beginning though. There's so many more stories. In fact, Tanya is doing a story with me right now. Yeah. So.
That is so exciting. And let me guess, it's about mental health, knowing Tanya. Because she's amazing.
There's definitely some mental health that comes into it, but it's also about like that immigrant moving to the Bow Valley experience. She was part of the Meet the Locals project, which was in conjunction with the Bow Valley Immigration Partnership and kind of jumped off from the Front Steps project. And so that was, I don't know, it fits in there. And then another project that's from within the Bow Valley is the Suicide Survivors Project. So my dad died by suicide. Yvonne Law, who's with the town of Banff, she helped to get this project off the ground. And so we are just taking photos, doing interviews with people in the Bow Valley who have survived someone else's suicide, and getting those stories and connecting people together. But that's another story. Yvonne and I will be working together on her digital story of her loss through suicide.
And those messages to get out are so important in empowering, especially to people in that situation, or people seeing that and then trying to understand what they're going through. Like, it just sets so many things in motion. Like, that's incredible. And like, where can people find these stories?
I can share links with you. My website is Kristy Wolf. And lots of links are on there. So yeah.
So everyone who's watching, the links will be down below, and you can just click on them, or if it's Instagram, up above.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And we are running out of time here. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I would definitely just invite people to connect. Mental health is a huge part of what I think about photography. It's how I teach photography. It's what I think about digital storytelling and how you can kind of have a therapeutic process with some creativity. So reach out if that is something of interest to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And this has been so inspiring and educational. Like, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sage.